Committee. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I move the Senate take note of this report. Mr Acting Deputy President, this parliamentary joint inquiry by the Corporation of Financial Services into the standards of financial planners was a very, very important inquiry as a result of the inquiry that the Senate had into ASIC. It's just amazing, Mr Acting Deputy President, that they're Regulatory Guide 146. And it's frightening the evidence that the committee received, where someone could go online and do a few-hour course and be qualified to be a financial planner, then to advise people how to invest their tens, hundreds of thousands, might even be a case of millions of dollars, by doing a brief questionnaire on the internet. Some say it was an 8-day crash course of studies. It is vital that this parliament, along with the other House, change these regulations. It's a bit like having a surgeon, Mr Acting Deputy President, who does a crash course on the internet or an 8-day crash course with someone, then is qualified to perform operations on a human. That would be totally, totally unacceptable. And in this case, where we look at the savings of Australians to get proper financial advice, to see that their advice is in their interest first and foremost, as those opposite have done in FOFA, and we left in FOFA, to see that the client's interests were first and foremost. And so it is amazing that on the 3rd of July last year, the CEO of the Commonwealth Bank, Mr Ian Narev, said in a statement, and I quote, "Trust goes to the heart of a relationship between a financial institution and its customers. At the centre of the matters which this recent Senate committee reviewed is the very disturbing fact that some people working for our Commonwealth financial planning and financial wisdom business breach that trust. They failed in their primary obligation to act in the best interests of our clients." That is, of course, was in response to the damning Senate inquiry into the performance of ASIC, and both the CBA and Macquarie Private Wealth were collateral damage. The CBA announced 2 weeks later that it was adopting new minimum education standards for Commonwealth Financial Planning Limited, financial planners, supervisors and managers of planners, and I welcome this decision by the Commonwealth Bank. And may I add, Mr Acting Deputy President, likewise with NAB, ANZ, Westpac and many other financial institutions, the standard must be raised. CBA identified around 400,000 people who could have received shoddy advice. Macquarie Bank, some 160,000 people they are writing to. We're talking more than 500,000 Australians here that may have received bad advice. And the worst aspect was the lack of oversight of these advisors, who were in many cases allowed to run rampant. If I achieve one thing in my time in the Senate, Mr Acting Deputy President, it is to see that ASIC, the oversight of these people, carries out its duties much, much better than it's done in the past. But if we go back to 2009, the Parliamentary Joint Committee undertook an inquiry into financial products and the service in the wake of the collapse of Storm Financial and Opus Prime. I was part of that committee. We all remember these disasters, and CBA had to pay out over $250 million in compensation. And the Bank of Queensland agreed to $17 million compensation over the Storm Financial debacle, and many fights in the court still continue. With the terrible financial pressure on families, the cost to the taxpayers where people were retired, they owned their homes, they had a nest egg, and in many cases now they are renting and are on a pension. And that is disgraceful, where people at the twilight of their lives are now relying on a pension when they own their assets and were self-sufficient. During that inquiry, the PJC Committee heard that the cost of poor financial advice over the past decade could be as high as $37 billion. The alarm bell started to ring then, whether financial advisors working in the best interest of their clients or the financial institutions, and hence FOFA was a result of that inquiry. Other scars in the financial landscape have been the collapse of Trio Capital and West Point, let alone Timber Corp and Great Southern and some of those other crazy managed investment schemes. The common factor in all of these was bad financial advice and, in some cases, fraud, and investing into bad financial products. The analogy I put to you, Mr Acting Deputy President, is that these financial planners were selling cars without brakes and the people who bought those cars went down the hill and crashed into trees. We cannot have this go in the future, and I would like to thank the committee chair, Senator David Forster, for his great work in this position, all the members of the committee, and I would hope that when those changes come to this place, the support is unanimous around this chamber to see that we lift the education standards of financial planners, that it not be a farce as it's been for many years, and I'm very confident that we'll get this right to see that in future hard-working Australians, in many cases self-managed super funds, some, I believe, $600 million worth, and even could be more than that, probably $600 billion, I might have the figures wrong, and the $1.8 trillion of super be $600 billion, Mr Acting Deputy President. These people get good advice, they grow their retirement nest egg so they can have a retirement with financial savings and the lifestyle they've saved for and worked for all their life, and not be a tax burden on the taxpayers of Australia. That's the whole idea of superannuation. Could I thank the Secretary and everyone involved in the committee, and I look forward to the changes being brought forward, hopefully very soon in this place.
Thanks, Senator Williams. Would you like to seek leave to continue your...
Yes, Mr Acting Deputy President, I seek leave to continue my remarks.